I'm afraid.
Hello and welcome back to Remembering Tuscola webcast. I'm David Porter. I'm here with all the greats. The great one, Mike Carroll's back with us, and Bill Englehardt and Alan Michener and Bob Taylor. Got a full house. So
And we were all having a good time till you showed us a dead woman.
Oh, jeez.
we don't want to talk about that, Mike.
Okay.
So there are some pictures that I come across in our archives that I'm not going to show on air.
Oh, why'd you show us?
I thought you might know who it was, but
Yeah. No, that's one that maybe Mitch would know. He knows more than Bill and I.
No, I did not
By the
know
way,
that
Dave,
one at
those
all.
pictures should have been
I figured that weren't you state's attorney about what year were
Oh,
you state's?
76, 82.
Well, you should know all about that then.
I was during the drug era
Yeah.
when we had
well, Bill's
Tony.
got a picture he wants to show.
Tony Beretta. I remember
Well,
that.
Bill's got a photo here, and I think Bill wants to show it to the world.
Well, I I think that first of all, we would like to say happy birthday to Mike
Today's
Carroll,
my birthday.
the
Happy
great
birthday,
Happy
Mike.
birthday, Mike.
Yeah, and Bob, last night we were at the ball game. You was sitting there with Corey White from Newman and his wife, and Chuck White was there with his wife, the grandparents of Rylan White, watched the ball game and everything. Well, Chuck gave me something. He gave me a picture from the Newman Independent when they closed the newspaper. He said, I don't know how it got in there, but it's Mike Carroll's senior picture from high school.
Oh, jeez.
Chuck, Chuck,
Show it again, Bill.
picture from high school, senior
Show it again.
This is right before I went in the hospital with pneumonia.
picture.
That's not your high school picture.
Well, no, I was this. Well, I don't want to bore you with stories. My freshman year, I started going bald. I had widow's peaks going back, And I remember my freshman year, Eddie Alexander, Louis Leitz, and somebody else took me. They asked me to go with them to Champaign to the Illini Theater,
Oh, no.
Porno Theater, and they had me go buy the tickets. And I'm buying the tickets, and those guys are giving me. And the woman goes, "Are you sure those guys with you are 18?" I said, "Yes." I was a freshman.
Oh, that's funny.
So let's see that picture again.
Well, I don't know what that is.
No, it's your
That looks like maybe when you were.
I don't know. Running for reelection.
Well, I think that was really nice of Chuck White to pick that up out of the paper.
Yeah.
That was
Well,
really
yeah.
a picture.
Chuck,
That's why when you ran for state's attorney.
well, I no, this is you know what the most amazing thing is I look younger today.
I was gonna say you looked like you were living the good life at that time.
Well, I'll tell you what, life was good to me when I got to 365 pounds.
You're right.
We got a picture of you in this week's paper pictures. We got a couple of you in this week.
But anyway, so anyway, this is Bill. Thank you. I wonder why you wouldn't show that to me.
Well, I just want to wish you happy birthday and give you a picture that have been passed on to me from your high school years.
You and I, you and I have friends all through the county back from the old Oklahoma, don't we?
Oh yeah.
Mitch, did you guys, Bob and Mitch, do you guys have friends all over like we do, Arcola, Villa Grove, Arthur?
A few, but not.
Well,
I don't remember a lot.
Sports is where I got them, and plus I ran for office in the county.
Well, I've had some good friends from Arcola that I met in college.
Okay.
Down at, Rich McLean and Mike Bandy.
I heard Rich
Yeah.
McLean one day fired a bullet through your wall. Just see if you guys were in there. That's an old Rich McLean. Somebody said, where's Pangburn and Mitch? And he just fired a gun in the wall and you guys came over. That's an old
Well, Rich was, he was a real character.
He was a character.
He and Mike Bandy, who was, I think Mike would have been about your class,
He was
Bill.
66.
Yeah.
And he and his wife were good friends of mine, and but in the later years, their career paths had gone in opposite directions. Rich went down the wrong way, and Mike went down the IBI. I think he worked for the Illinois Bureau of Investigation.
Yeah.
And so they ended up, and they had been good friends, but they ended up splitting ways because of that.
Well, Rich went to Vietnam, is what happened to him.
And then he got into drugs. In the eighth grade track meet, I was there one day when they walked out and told him his dad had died.
Yeah.
And Rich was a pretty good. I played baseball with him. In
Yeah,
fact,
Rich was pretty good.
Rich was crazier than Skinner. Rich would go up to, we'd be playing Rantoul. He'd drive to Champaign, you know where the McDonald's is there on the big road, turn right, go to football. He would sit there at a green light and people behind her honking and stuff. And Skinner and I go, what's wrong? He says, I just love to irritate people. It turned red, car started coming and he floored it.
Yeah.
They were locking up their brakes. He got up against one truck with the mud flaps hitting in front of his car.
Yeah.
Rich was nuts.
So
He was a little bit crazy. He and I came back from Carbondale one day to see a couple of girls when we were in college. I was dating a gal, and he picked me up. Nobody knew we were back in town, so he picked me up the Sunday to go back to Carbondale. And we were out in the country, and we came around a curve, and he lost control and put it in a ditch, and he bent a wheel. And we didn't do anything other than he drove that car all the way back to Carbondale with this bent wheel on it.
Thump, thump, thump.
Thump, thump, thump. Didn't have to go flat. It just the wheel was bent. Oh.
So is that no wives' tale that he fired a gun through the wall?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised.
Nothing would surprise me that he did.
Yeah,
His
he was.
brother was one of the best guys I ever knew.
Oh.
Kenny McLean.
Kenny was a great guy.
Yeah.
Well, I got a funny story about God, who were we talking about? I lost my train of thought. Rich, talking about Rich. He came in the lumber. He and another guy who the guy that was driving was a known alcoholic, but Rich ran with him some, and they came. The known alcoholic was also a carpenter, and he came in the lumberyard one day, and he told me, he said, well, Rich was out in the car, but he didn't want you to see him because he was messed up at that time, probably on drugs. And shortly after that, he died.
Yeah, he died.
But he really was a lot of fun to be around, but he was just crazy.
He was a graphic artist for Eisner's up in Champaign, lived in a trailer.
Yes, he was. And he couldn't handle the 9-to-5 job. He was pretty good at what he did, but he just could not handle it going in at 9 o'clock and getting off at 5. That just was not his.
Who can?
Yeah, that's right. That's why you became state's attorney. That's why you became state's attorney, because you could get by with whatever.
When I ran for judge, Doug Dietrich came over and said, I just don't see you as a judge. I go, why is that? I said, you cannot get to court by 8:30.
Yeah. Yeah. You gotta, well, except when you're the judge, the courtroom runs on your time.
Let's see a picture.
Let's go. Bill's kitchen.
Well, first, how old are you, Mike? 78 now?
78.
So happy birthday to Mike. So
Thank you.
Damn, he's young. He's young.
See,
we got some good pictures. See if you recognize anybody in this picture, anybody at all.
Oh yeah. Oh, we get them all.
We got every one of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got one you may not know. Second from on the front row, second from the right is Tom Harrington, CPA.
That's right. That is correct.
And there's the newspaper guy next to him.
Art Kimball.
Art Kimball. Did you work with him, Dave?
No, he was a little before my time, and I think Art Lewis Kimball, and he used Art Lewis as a byline in the paper.
Yes.
Bob, who's behind you?
And I think the guy
Tom Stewart.
That's Tom there.
Tom Stewart's right behind Bob.
Low right, I think. Is that Earl the Pearl Van Steenhouse?
No.
No.
Okay. I don't know the lower right.
Tom Cappy.
And right next to Art Kimball is Jerry Reynolds.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
we got
Jerry.
him.
Tom McMillan, Denny McMillan
Went-
on the left.
TNB banker went to Busey, Tom Cappy.
Glenn Smith.
Smith ran for mayor, had a cute daughter, married
Connie.
married McCoy, didn't she?
McElroy.
McElroy, yeah.
McElroy.
Yeah.
Who's the lower right?
Who's this guy? Who's this guy in the lower right?
Well, he's a very wise man.
Yeah.
In later years, he even became wiser.
Yeah.
Is that Michener?
Yeah. But I knew when you were talking about wise, I knew that's what you were talking about.
Who is it?
That's our own Bob Taylor.
Is that Booby?
Yeah.
And you know, I don't remember ever having slacks or a sport jacket that looked like that.
I've never seen you in a tie.
Well, you won't.
You won't now, that's for
Well,
sure.
my God, you were actually fairly good looking back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even
Then I got married.
And he got hair too. Look at that. He's got hair.
Yeah, he looks.
Yeah.
I'll be darned. Bob, was this when you owned Sears?
Montgomery Ward.
Monkey Wards. Okay.
So this would have been sometime between 73 and 83.
I'll be darned. Did you know that was Bob?
Hmm?
Did you know that was Bob?
Mhm. I
Well-
knew it was
well-
Bob, but Tom Stewart, my neighbor who just passed away, I can't tell if he's got on his glasses or not. I just
Bob,
couldn't tell.
I think it's a compliment that I mistook you for a multimillionaire banker.
Yeah.
So who are these two on the top left?
Denny McMillan was in the bank,
TNB.
Tuscola TNB, and Tom Cappy,
That's
Sharon's husband.
Sharon Rose's husband.
Yeah. Kimball reminded me of somebody in the mafia.
Well, he was.
He thought he was, I think.
Tom
Well,
Harrington.
he was a good friend of Bill Anderson, who was an early country western singer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They were good
Whispering
personal
Bill.
friends.
I remember Bill Anderson playing softball at Irvin Park.
Young Bill.
That's a different Bill Anderson.
Billy. That's Billy.
Well, it was Whispering Bill.
Oh. Oh, Whispering Bill.
Is that
Art brought him
different?
here.
Am I thinking of the wrong country music star?
No, I think maybe you're right.
I think so. Art brought him here for a program out at the high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
So that must have been how I happened to see him at Irvin Park.
Good day.
Tom Harrington was a CPA, lived across from the courthouse there, the Caddy Corner. And his wife was Beth, I think. But they came to town, and within 2 years, he was president of Rotary, ABC, school board. They were on everything. And they always told me that a lot of people come to Tuscola and say it's a very provincial town, that people don't accept you. They said, that's crazy. If you come here, they'll let you be president of anything.
Yeah. They were nice. They were a nice couple, but I think they later divorced.
No, you're kidding me. I lost track of them.
Yeah. One thing I remember about Tom was, and I don't remember if it happened when he was here. I think it did. He was mowing his yard, and he, when you have to stop and back up your mower, he pulled his mower back over his foot and cut his toe off.
No.
Yo, gee, man.
Did he go to Altamont after they left here?
Yes.
Okay. The fur coat, down near the fur coast.
Yeah, that's Furco land.
Yeah. That looks like
Joyce
Oh, that's
Alexander.
Joyce Alexander.
That's Joyce.
Joyce Alexander.
Third one is Linda Kelsey
I started to say, yeah, these are
Yeah.
all ABC girls. Then there's
and Sharon.
Yeah. Second one would have been Karen Best.
yes.
That is, isn't it?
And
Who's
then
the-
Linda, and then Sharon.
Sharon Rose,
Who's the fourth one?
Sharon Cappy.
Oh, that's Sharon Cappy with
Yeah.
lighter hair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Without the ponytail.
Without the ponytail.
And Shirley Quinn says Sharon Cappy and Dolores Ford, fourth and fifth.
Yeah, Dolores.
Yeah, that'd be right.
And the sports coat looks like Daryl Ford's.
Hmm.
Or Orville Fry.
Who knows?
It's when Plaid was in.
Plaid was back.
There's Art Lewis again, Art Kimball.
And that's where he's shaking the hand of Sam Traficana, the mafia boss.
I have no idea who the guy on the right is. Do you?
I'm kidding.
Diane Poling says it's Sherman Marsh.
No,
that's not.
No.
Sherman's a
No.
lot bigger than Art Kimball.
Was Art the actual? Did Bob let Kimball run their paper? Was he?
No, he worked for Hastings.
He worked for Hastings. Yeah, he worked for
That's what I said, Bob. Did Bob let him like be editor or publisher or something? He just worked for him.
Yeah. He lived in if you're coming off out of the park, the third house on the right is where he used to live.
Okay, on Park Street.
On Park Street, yeah. If you
Okay.
come out of the park and you come down Park, he's the third house on the right. Is where he used to live. I remember that.
David, did he get in politics and want to run for office or something?
I didn't know him. I just remember his name in the newspaper, his byline in the paper.
I thought he got somehow into politics. I guess we're all in politics now, aren't we?
Yeah. I did not know this one at all.
You got initials? We've never seen this.
WG.
WG?
I think this is at Phlox.
Who worked for Flock?
Warren Gillenwater.
Now wait a minute. That's not the Warren Gillenwater that was a mechanic at Ford, is it?
That's his son. That's his son.
Oh, so he's named after his dad.
Yeah.
Well, no, that was not Warren. Odell Gillenwater was the guy that was a mechanic.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this was his son, and we figured this out when we were talking about it, that he is his mother was last name was Warren. It was Wendy Warren's sister.
Yeah, she was a lot younger than Odell when they got married.
Yes.
About
Yes.
10 or 15 years
Linda.
younger. Linda Warren, she's redhead, I think.
Yeah, Linda Gillenwater. Yeah, that was right. Linda Warren.
Odell was 15 or 20 years older.
Yeah,
He gave Englehardt and I hope.
that's right. That's right.
Well, I'll tell you, the upper right guy is the old from Arcola, head of ESDA. Oh gosh, I represent him.
I didn't know any of those guys.
No, I don't know.
I thought that was Mike Payne, but it isn't.
No, I'll think.
Mrs.
Ralph
Warren,
Brewer.
Wendy Warren's mother was a sister to May Bear.
Yes.
Come on, Mitch. When you're on the county board, he was ESDA guy from Arcola.
This looks like the basement of the courthouse to me.
I'd say you're right. I'm looking at the ceiling. That was a sort of a
I have no idea.
concrete. Yeah, I think that's true.
Lisa Weber says Albert Beachy of Arcola on the far left.
Yeah. Well, he was head of ESDA and a paramedic.
Boy, I'm glad plaid pants are not in order.
Yeah, me too.
Well, the guy standing on the right, I thought looked a little like my cousin, Mike Bowles, but I don't know who that is. He worked for the railroad.
The program's over.
We'll see. The only name I had was Albert Beachy. I recognize both of these guys.
Yeah.
Wayne Ward on the left and Doc Smith.
Doc Smith's begging for some money.
Yeah.
Put it in my hand.
Mm,
Wayne was when I was state's attorney, Wayne was a county engineer and he received all kinds of awards. Most people don't know this. He was nationally recognized in organizations. He was one of the best county engineers around.
Yes, he was.
Oh,
Yes, he was.
The county board.
I found out, I just heard today from somebody, I don't know where I heard this, but Wayne, he and his wife were moving, I think, to assisted living down in Arthur, and the old Limna house is up for sale, Mike. So maybe you ought to get that.
There you go.
Patterson Springs house.
I looked at that. When Jim Lemon was going to sell it. He invited me out there. And I forget what year it was, 79, 78, and he wanted 180,000.
They want about 440 for it now.
He wanted 180. And my ex-wife and I, we looked at each other and we had about $400 in the bank. I couldn't afford it. You know who he sold it to? A Chicago couple that wanted to just come down in the summer and stay there a couple weeks a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Wayne finally bought it a couple years later.
Yeah.
Well, that's Kathy Maddox.
Yeah, it is.
I'll be
Mike was on
darned,
the
isn't it?
right.
Hey, Mike and Christopher.
Yeah, and Christopher's on her lap.
Good
County
job.
roads now.
Boy, that's a good job. I didn't recognize
That's a good
that
job. I
at
didn't
all.
recognize her at all.
Yeah.
I
Well,
didn't either. I should have recognized it, but I didn't.
they were growing up down the street from us. Christopher and Caleb were in the same class. Michael was a little older.
Yeah.
Well, Bill and I were talking the other day about when Dana died, how sudden, did he have an aneurysm burst or something? You guys,
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, he
Yes.
I think so. Yeah,
he was a
might
very
have
successful dentist. He was a good dentist, nice
He was
guy.
at the Brickyard 400 when all that happened.
Yep.
Was it?
Yeah.
Wow. Now, is that Tuscola Review?
That's the Tuscola Review. You know
And-
who this is. I didn't recognize her, but when
Is that
I
Carl?
think that's Jan. I think that's Jan Hastings.
yep, that's Jan Hastings.
Oh,
Yeah.
boy. What a boy. Swihart, Gaylord's daughter.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yep. So all this furniture is still there.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
it is. Yeah.
Bev was very sentimental. And there's
Speaking of
Speaking of Bev.
Speaking of Bev, there she is.
Yeah.
Well, she was I think, I don't know, Dave, you know better than me. I always thought she was the backbone of that whole operation.
I think you
She
could be
was.
right.
She was. Bob was, well, when I was there, Bob was not in the office much, and he had a lot of health problems during that time in the 80s.
Well, he had his heart problems. I started writing for him in the late 80s because he had heart problems. But Bev was, I always liked her. But I'll tell you what, when things got tough, she got even tougher. She could run.
She was quite a lady. She
I
survived cancer, what, 4 times?
Yeah.
I thought of her since I moved next door to her. They moved next door to us when I was about 7,
Yeah.
8 years old. She's one of the sweetest people.
She's sweet, but I want you to look at that stare. Bob's taking her picture and she doesn't want it taken.
Probably right.
But
You
I
might be
think
right.
I'm a huge fan of Bob, but I always thought she was the backbone that just kept it all together.
Boy, I sure
I
look
think
like
you're probably
Greg.
right.
You just look at the face. That sure looks like Greg.
Well, and she
Doesn't
was
it?
she was in every day. And you know what? The News Gazette would probably still own that paper or it would have shut down if they hadn't kicked her out of her own building. She leased it to the Champaign News Gazette.
Yeah.
She used to clip out stuff and mail it to people, and they asked her to vacate it.
Hmm.
You talk about
Well, there are a lot of stories there about that whole,
a lot of stories about
a lot
that.
of stories about that. But
Yep,
I
Bev,
worked for Bev for many years, and she was always good to me. And I was 19 years old when I started the paper, and you're right, she ran the office.
oh yeah.
She did not run the editorial, and with Bob gone, she gave me a lot of autonomy to run the editorial side.
She let me, that's when I started writing, was back in the late 80s. You know, Dave, just briefly, when Bev decided to restart the paper as the Journal, because she didn't like the fact that News Gazette had fired they basically fired Randy, kicked her out of the office, and they cut the salary of the advertising guys. I remember I represented her, and I got a call from a Champaign lawyer and says, "Do you understand that Bev's going up against Foreman?" Was that his name?
John Foreman, yeah.
And I said, "Well, does John Foreman know Bev Hastings?" He said, "What does that mean?" I said, "You'll find out."
Well, yeah, John Foreman talked to me during that, and John's passed now, but he said, "Well, we've got deep pockets. We can outspend them." And I said, "Well, first of all, John, she's got $3 million of your money,
That's right.
and she had money before." I said, "The difference is she'll spend hers, you know, to do what she thinks is right. Are you willing to spend yours?" I said, "You're not going to beat Bev Hastings."
Oh, she won. She's quite a gal. I think all the kids just really adore her.
I got a funny story about Bob that Steve Hilgendorf told me. He said Bob would never wear a shirt twice. And he said that he'd go to a lot of ball games with him to do stats and stuff for the newspaper, and he and Greg and Bob always have about a half a dozen new shirts still in the package in the back end of the station wagon. And when one would get dirty, why he'd just throw it away and and open up a new one, put it on. Never had them laundered, never had anything done to them.
Oh, my goodness.
I used to take on golfing trips. There's about 12 of us used to go down in the February and play golf. And I always got a room with Bob. I don't know why they put me with Bob. Anyway, Bob opened his suitcase, and you're right. Brand new shirts from Four Seasons.
Yeah. Yes.
Had socks from Four Seasons. Their thing was Bob would go order the most expensive golf balls. We'd go to a restaurant, and Bob would order the most expensive thing. So when it came time to all go pay our hotel bill, mine was 150, McCumber's 160. So Bob was 380. He goes, why is mine 380? Well, you bought a rain suit, all shirts. You bought. He bought those Militors that used to have numbers, registered numbers. Well, he lost a dozen a day. He lost $48 a day in golf balls. Bob was a corker.
Mm. That he was.
Their
We
son
all-
Craig is police chief and just celebrated 45 years with the city.
I'll tell you
Wow.
what, that's unbelievable. That job used to just eat guys up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It lasted a couple of years, and the public would just the stress, the arrest somebody's son, all the anger, just eat them up.
Yeah.
Craig's got great political skills that he survived all that.
Good people skills.
Good people skills. Oh my God.
Mhm.
There's another group. Boy.
there's the immaculate hunk.
Boy, Petty looks great.
Are you talking about Daryl Price?
No, no, the monster man next to him, Sasquatch. So
Sasquatch.
that's me, believe it or not.
You think so, huh?
That's
There's Mark Petty on the left. Look at Mark Petty.
look at Mike. That's just like that picture he showed earlier.
Yeah, it looks a little bit like Adolf Hitler with that mustache, you know.
Okay, that's what my first wife said. No,
I don't remember the mustache.
well, somebody said look sexy, so there goes Mark Petty on the left, and there's your
Oh, well, there's,
best friend,
yeah, Chet Keller.
Chester the molester.
Yeah, boy, it's not the world of Chet.
You got the third one?
Let's not slander anybody.
That's Crossman.
Bobby
Bob
Crossman,
Crossman,
Daryl Price,
Daryl Price, you, Emerson Moore,
Perry Albin,
Perry Albin.
PSA.
Very, I couldn't think of his name. Yeah, yeah.
This is about 1978.
Ann Randall's first husband was Perry.
That was exactly right. And
Right.
he's farming over in Newman now. I think they split the Albin estate up, and I think Perry got the farmland and David got the banks.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That's about 78. Well, that one on the left, we know on the left. This is Freddie Moody's or Carmichael. Who owned it before Freddie? Carmichael?
Yeah, that's right.
I
No,
never went in there.
no, it wasn't. Was it Carmichael? Who was
Well,
the guy
Chap-
that's from Atwood that owned it before Carmichael?
Chapman.
Mm-hmm.
But Carmichael's, I thought, got it from Chapman, and Freddie got it from Carmichael's. But
That's right. You're right.
that girl's familiar on the left.
Well, you'll know it when I tell you.
Give us the initials.
CM.
Zelda Manchuria.
According to Andrea Huber, that's Kathy Murray and Betsy Belts.
Look at Murray. Doesn't it look like a Murray?
Well, that is Kathy Murray now. Yeah.
Betsy Belts.
Well, that is. She was real thin in high school, wasn't she?
No, you're thinking of Donna.
Oh, I'm thinking of Donna.
This is the younger sister.
Oh, there was a
Kathy
boy.
Murray. Yeah.
Yeah.
It has that look.
No, it's yeah, Kathy's right, isn't it?
Mary.
Or no, how about Teresa? Kathy, that's not Kathy Murray. That might be Teresa Murray.
Kathy had real dark
Who's
hair.
Teresa?
Did Teresa become a nurse?
I can't remember.
I don't know. But two people say it's Kathy. So on Facebook.
Well, Kathy was the oldest one. She was dark headed.
Yes.
This gal was redheaded.
Yeah.
And
Kathy
that
looked
was true.
like
That
her
was
mother. This
that was-
was red hair. This is Jean. Believe me.
Well,
It looks like Jean Murray.
right.
no,
Yeah.
no, that's his daughter.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I know.
I'm
It's
sorry.
all right.
You open the door. You
Yeah.
open the door.
Well, she did look like it. Pat Flock on the left. Someone won a dollar bill.
He looks familiar. Doesn't he? I'm guessing he's a,
Don't know.
Mhm. No Pat, but that's the only one I know.
I know that guy did not pay
Out
for
of
his hat.
towners look like Willow Grove people to me.
I know that guy did not pay for his hat.
They look familiar to me, but I'm not going to venture a guess.
Oh,
There's,
George
uh,
Barnett.
George Barnett.
Drag show in Tuscola.
Yeah.
Oh boy, was there a hoot and holler about that?
Blow that up. I can almost tell you who they are.
Yeah.
There's still a hoot and holler about
That-
that.
Miss TikTok, that's we just mentioned him. They had the watch shop here in
Tom
town.
Stewart.
Tom Stewart.
I'm sure.
That's Daryl Ford in the dark bathing suit, I think.
I'll tell you what, I'd date half of them.
Yeah, well, you would.
We got some other pictures of them where you might go to
Is
see
it?
them
Right here.
better.
You have names?
You can tell by the sideburns.
Well, it's just the
Oh,
ones,
yeah.
ones you've got, but we've got them in some other pictures that may have some more names.
I think that's Gaylord. That one was Gaylord Swihart.
Yeah, one of them probably.
Yeah, I
The
think you're right.
the
Yeah.
floral bathing suit, I think that's Gaylord Swihart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wore that a lot on weekends,
Yeah.
right by his house in Pekin. There's the finish line at a track meet, or the winners, first, second, third.
Can't tell.
I think the one in the middle on the top there, sideways, is John Buck.
Yeah, Johnny Buck
Mhm.
moved out to Colorado.
And I think straight behind him, possibly in the back row, could be Dave Dietrich, but I don't know.
I was going to say Burke, and then the last one looks almost like Randy Hastings.
But down on the left side in the back row, the tall guy is Kevin Ryan, I believe.
That's not Tuscola though, is
I
it?
don't.
I think Tuscola's won the first place.
I don't think that's.
You-
No, you're right, maybe. I didn't even pay any attention to uniforms.
Yeah, when was Buck here? Early 80s? Late?
No,
Yeah.
late 70s, probably.
I saw him and took a picture with him last homecoming.
Could that be Randy Hastings in the back? Could that be a mile relay? 880.
You think that
I
might
don't
be-
know.
You think
You
this
know,
might
it
be
does look like
Randy?
a Hastings, doesn't it?
That's his haircut.
It does look like Randy's haircut.
It does look like
In
Randy.
front of him looks like Kevin Burke.
Could be.
This,
But let's see, Kevin was in my brother-in-law Bill's class, I believe.
What year was that?
I have no idea.
Wound up being an All-American distance runner from Eastern.
Yes.
His dad ran the own Tasty Freeze.
Mhm. Bill Burke,
Bill?
Yeah.
Bill and Gretchen.
Now, yeah, they had tasty fruits. That's right.
yeah. I have to ask my sister Roberta. This would be about her age group.
Well, that'd be Randy's 77, I think.
I think Randy was 78.
78.
This picture's from Monticello.
Yeah, you're right. That's the old school back there. Like,
Mhm.
So, yeah, because my brother Pete was 77, and Randy is younger than Pete, I think.
I know he was a good halfback when Dave Dietrich was quarterback in 76. So he was probably a sophomore. I'll tell you what, those guys are doing something that all four of us can only dream about.
You're right.
Yeah.
Running.
And that would wake me up during the night.
I don't have any names here, so probably not Tuscola people.
Yeah, I don't think any of those
No.
Tuscola.
I recognize the house in this next picture.
Is that the Irvin House?
No, you should know what house that is.
It's a
Oh,
side-
that's the Carroll house, isn't
That's
it?
the Carroll house.
That's
the Crossman House,
Crossman
That's-
house. Yeah, it was
The lady sitting down on the far left is Mrs. Sipe.
right?
Donna Sipe.
And that's her son. That's her
That's-
son.
That's Tim standing up there.
Him Sipe, yeah.
And then
Becky Swinford says this was 1978. Mrs. Carroll had a get together for her first grade students and their moms.
It looks like Mrs. Bateman in the back on the
I would
left.
agree. I would agree.
I think
Right.
it is.
Right. This would be
And that's the
Mrs.
daughter
Bateman.
right beside her.
Yeah.
And
well,
Christine
Mrs.
Dietrich says looks like Patty Groves.
Like on that first, yeah, sitting down.
Jim Gallagher says yes. Audrey
think that
Groves
is.
and daughter.
Is that Audrey? I didn't recognize her.
And Mrs. Sipe and Tim. So Tim on the left.
Yeah.
Well, who's sitting down next to her?
And Mrs. Van Dorn and daughter, question mark.
Who's sitting next to Mrs. Sipe? A little boy.
That's not a boy. They think that's Patty Groves.
No, I thought that was Patty Groves. That's her.
No, I think sitting right next to Donna Sipe is Patty Groves.
Who's next to?
I don't know who the other ones are.
I
I don't-
thought
I'm not-
Audrey was in there.
Could that be Audrey? They're on hand?
Yeah.
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 On the far right, in the
She
bottom.
looks like a Harris.
Yeah, that's
Is that
what-
Audrey?
That's
And
who
so
I would.
that-
That's who I would guess would be Audrey.
Yeah.
I'd say the far right.
That's the boy.
But who's the gal in the striped dress then? Is that the darker dress sitting next to Audrey?
That I don't know.
Did she have any? Well, Terry Hornaday,
That's too big for Terry.
but that's too much for Terry. That wouldn't have been, well, she could be about that age.
You lower that picture again, David, to show their feet.
So that-
Show her feet.
You sure that's a girl next to Miss Sipe
looks like it to me.
with pants,
Yeah. I think that's,
so.
with full pants and on?
Bell bottoms were popular.
Yeah.
But Patty would Groves.
no, she wouldn't have been, I don't know what her Patty's maiden was, Wright, wasn't it?
I don't know.
I think her maiden name was Wright, Wright.
That's her daughter, so that's gotta be Sipe brought two kids.
Well, we'll have to.
And him.
Tim Sipe was tagged. We'll have to see if Tim knows who everyone is. But I recognize that fretwork
That is a,
pictures I've seen of the house.
What a home.
That's, that house has probably the second most, it's probably number one in regards to stairways over the one that was in my old house over on
Hey,
Niles Street.
your house, I've been in your house and I've been in Uncle Myron's. They're very similar.
Yes, they are.
Myron's actually is a distinctive, it's called East Lake. It's a Victorian,
Yes.
Yeah.
it's a very distinctive architectural style.
Well, it had the that round window in
Yes,
the front, and I remember my dad telling about having to order a new glass for one of those round windows. And I asked him how they did it, and he said we had to make a template of it and send it off, and then the glass company made. Of course, that was just the days of single pane glass, not thermopane glass.
Yeah.
But they still had to heat it and bend it.
Yeah. I
make
think
it.
this is the grandest house in Tuscola.
you
It's
remember
pretty nice.
Bob and Miss, do you remember a couple years ago when they rebuilt and repaired that copper roof on the cupola?
Yes,
Yes.
Good Lord, they worked all summer on it.
took forever.
Well, the guy that owns it now is Lloyd. Isn't it Lloyd Murphy's brother
Yes,
that owns it now?
yes.
And I understand that he is doing all the work in regards to the restoration, and I understand he's very talented. And I talked to the gal who was the I don't know, interior decorator that he had used. It was somebody that I also knew, and she said, "Yeah, he's slow, but he's very, very good at what he does."
Well, Bill and I are both slow and not very good at what we do.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well, that's
That's Daryl.
McMillan and Ford.
That's
Yeah.
Daryl.
Yeah.
They were running off to get married in Kentucky,
Probably.
underage.
So Mike, whatever happened to Denny? I know he went to work for Busey,
I think he's probably retired by now.
probably.
Oh yeah.
He was there with Doug McCullough. He was about Doug's age, and Doug would be what, 72 or 3 now?
6.
Six, yeah.
He was 2 years behind us.
That's right. Denny was about that same age group, I think, as Doug.
I was telling a funny story about Denny ordering a bunch of when TNB Bank used to give away paper-mate pens.
Mhm.
Yes.
And Denny was in charge of that, and the price was getting ready to go up, and so he ordered like 5,000 pens or something.
Bill McCarty was
And because he was going to save quite a bit of money, well, McCarty just about went off his rocker with because he'd ordered 5,000 of these pens. Then it was all right because a year later the price about doubled on them, and Bill thought that was okay then.
Oh.
So,
I think I think I still have one of those pens.
yeah, I know I do.
Well, speaking of price, I went down. Somebody said the price of stamps went up July 1st by 5 cents. So on June 31st,
Well,
Betty said they buy them in rolls, 100 of them. So we went to the post office June 31st. I said, Becky, stamps are a nickel. I gave her $50. I said, go buy a roll of 100 stamps. I gave her $54. She came back out and said, they're $75. I said, no, they're 54 cents a stamp. I went in to argue. Woman says, stamps are 74 cents. They've been that way for a couple of years. I said,
Yeah,
what happened to 54? And they're
they
going
went
to
right on by those.
78 now.
well, the problem
Yeah.
was you went on June the 31st.
That's true. Yeah.
I know I saved 5 cents.
No, well, there is no June the 31st.
Well, whatever 30 days, that's September, April, June. You know what? I'm going to concede I made a mistake.
Well, that's what we're here for. That's what we're here for, is to correct your mistakes.
Yeah.
Dave said he had to get some correctors because Bill doesn't want to upset me. So it takes somebody that's not afraid to upset me.
And we're 78 years old, so we don't care.
Yeah, there you go.
So you get to an age, that's the thing about old people. You don't want to talk to an old person because they're going to tell you what they think.
That's right.
That's
That's
right.
absolutely right.
About 10 years ago, I bought a bunch of forever stamps. And I bought the fun ones with the different, but I got them in a drawer. And I noticed when my wife needs stamps, she goes and buys stamps. I said, you keep forgetting I've got all these forever stamps in the drawer. Use those up.
Mm-hmm.
But
Where I put that roll now.
They're pretty valuable.
Yeah, I think we got all these pretty well too. I can't remember what her name was, but the first gal on the left there is Jean Cornell's wife. They were here for a while. I think he was in the insurance business, if I remember right.
Different companies?
No.
No, I don't know what company.
Yeah, I think he might have been CIPS.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
Was he? Oh, okay.
He was
Okay,
friends
maybe
with
you're
Bill
right.
Burris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good friend.
And then
Yeah.
you got Joyce Alexander, and then you got Karen Best,
That's
and then you got Linda Kelsey Rogers Dobbs, and that's Sharon Cappy on the top left, and then Pendergrass, and then I don't know about the other one.
And then-
Marcy Shoemaker says Lori Ford.
I think it is Lori.
Oh yeah, I did. Lord. Yeah, I see it
And
now.
Karen Bass says the first name you're looking for was Mary Lois.
Mary Lois Connell. Yeah.
just,
Cornell.
where
Cornell.
Dale and Karen live now. Alan, do you know?
Fargo, North Dakota.
Oh my gosh.
They have a daughter there, or they just got
Yeah, yeah. Shelby, their oldest daughter, is she's a doctor up there, and so they moved up there. She got a couple of kids, and they were up there. And then they spend their winters in Florida. They got a place down in Punta Gorda, Florida, that they go to every winter.
Well, Fargo gets about what 180 below zero in the winter.
Yeah, well, they don't stay around up there in the wintertime, but it's pretty bad in the winter.
There's Gaylord in the middle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jerry Tagg on the left,
Oh yes.
Oh, jeez.
and I assume that is we just talked about, Miss TikTok.
Tom
Tom
Stewart.
Stewart. Tom Stewart.
Boy, they had fun back in those days.
Oh
Yeah,
yes.
that was a fun.
And those are all three of those guys are pretty much
Well,
caring.
the ABC Club was a pretty rocking group.
It was.
It wasn't Rotary, I'll tell you that.
No, it wasn't Rotary.
They were not bashful.
Rotary is a little stiff.
They were bank presidents in Rotary.
Gaylord better be careful with his skirt there.
I think those all three of those guys are gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all gone.
When did Tommy die?
About 2 months ago.
Really?
Hmm.
I was in the hospital.
You might have
Missed it.
been.
I missed it.
Yeah, look at the
That's-
sideburns on that girl.
That's when they sang for WDS.
Yeah.
Decatur.
That's Gaylord again. Gaylord, and so I don't know who the guy is. So there's Sonny Clyson was sitting down there in the back.
Yeah, that's Sonny Clyce.
And then that looks like Linda
Kelsey.
right beside it. You know.
You see that?
I don't know.
There's those bell-bottom pants. There's
There's
Bob.
There's old Bob.
There's Mitch.
Yeah, it is me back there. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, he's standing up against the wall.
There he is with a mustache. Mustaches must have been big back in '70s.
Yeah, they were. I think they were.
I think we got
That's-
3 out of the 4 of you in this week's pictures.
Yeah. I
Where's
didn't
Ingo?
see that. Yeah.
We're waiting for Ingo.
Yeah, I don't think we've got Bill this week.
Is that Pendergrass there?
Looks
He's
like
been 3 times.
Mhm.
That guy
I
looks
never
like-
know.
That's
When I
Earl
open
Pen-
an envelope, I never know what's in it.
Earl,
On the
Earl
left.
with a real round face.
On the left is Earl of Pearl Pendergrass, I
Yeah.
think.
Where's that picture taken, guys? Can you tell?
Well, the floor looks like, is that community building floor?
No, I
No,
don't think it's community
no.
building.
That wasn't a community building floor. Was that out at the Elks?
You know, there were some other pictures there that had like antlers on the wall
Yeah, I bet that was out at the Elks.
where the breakfast place is now.
Right.
Mitch, you were ABC guy, weren't you? With
Yes.
Ronnie Wynn, all the rest of them.
Yeah.
Dale Best.
Dale Best was, yeah.
You guys could have been arrested if there had been a raid. If I'd have raided you at State's Turn, some of your partners out of Don Moody's shed.
Yeah, that would have been the
Yeah.
place to raid it. Yeah.
Now, there
you're
were some
right.
movies being shown. Everybody's eating chili watching these movies, and I'm going, holy cow.
I don't know who's taking the picture over here. It looks like a Polaroid camera.
Yeah, I don't recognize.
Go Bob. That's
Jerry Reynolds, but
Miss
Jerry
Reynolds, but I don't
right.
know who the other. It says Miss Service Center.
that's not a smart thing to put on your T-shirt, is it?
I don't recognize who that is.
I don't have any names on that one.
He's a big man, whoever it was.
Chris
Hill,
Hill,
Mayor Chris Hill.
There's Mayor, yeah.
George
Still back here.
I see Delbert. That's
Yeah,
Delbert Davis.
Delbert
Davis, Linda Hance over here on the left.
This is-
That must have been out at that's at the nursing home, isn't it?
Yeah.
Looks like George ran the nursing
Yeah,
home.
that's that side room.
Delbert Davis. Bill's. You succeeded him, didn't you?
Oh no, Bill Sargent.
I mean, but he was before Sergeant, wasn't he?
He
He was at South Ward.
yeah, South Ward
Bill
and
Sargent
Ward.
was-
Oh, that was just a
He's
great
Prairie.
school.
Yeah.
no, Northward.
Northward.
Eric Alexander says this is Miss Fuentes. She was the art teacher. Oh no, she was not art. Linda was art teacher.
Hands is
Linda
on
Hands.
the far left.
Yeah, Linda Hands.
That's-
Let's recognizing people. 78. I don't think I was in the nursing home yet, was I?
No, I don't think so.
I think this is Fritz Cross.
Could very easily be.
Because he's in another picture coming up. In the back, you got Linda Hance
Yeah,
George, Chris.
and Chris Hill.
the kids, there must have been some art, something to do with art that they were there for. Maybe they won an art coloring contest or something for pictures they took out to the nursing home.
As, the internet says they think that's Gigi Snyder on the far right. I just saw her
Very
last night.
possible.
And looks like Sherry next to Gigi and
Sherry Stewart.
could be.
No,
Not sure.
Sherry's not. She's not in that picture. Sherry's too young.
Might not even been born by 76.
There's another, that little boy in the middle you thought was Fritz Cross. That looks like him
Yeah, I think.
too. I think that you're probably right there.
Yep.
That's
So
Fritz.
that'd be my brother Matt's class.
That looks like a little Scooter.
Which one?
Bottom left.
Well, Eric Alexander says that is Bumper Ferguson.
Oh yeah, I bet it
Really?
is.
Okay.
So Eric's got the names. This would be about his age group. Back row, Miss Fuentes, George Barnett, Chris Hill. Middle, Sandy Colbecker, Lisa Alexander, and Lisa Claypool.
Wow.
Then you got
Who's on the
Bumper
left?
Ferguson, Fritz Cross, and Jeff Miller.
Who's on the left among the girls, did you say?
Um,
Colbecker?
Sandy Colbecker.
Andy Kobecker.
Danny Colbecker, I'll be darned.
You know what? I had Jeff Miller.
Who's she married to?
I had Kobecker in class. And I had
That's
Lisa
nice.
Claypool in class.
Sandy.
6th grade.
Oh, Steve Bates.
Steve Bates, yeah.
Great.
Wasn't Miller's mom, wasn't she a teacher?
Yes,
Yes.
Yeah, Sherry.
Sherry Miller. Bumper Ferguson.
He's
So
one of the
these kids are
brightest
all-
kids to ever go through Tuscola schools. He's one.
Bumper, yeah.
Yeah, these are all a little bit younger than me.
Same picture again.
Yeah, we had that one, but
Did we? Okay.
Yeah, flip on that one.
Rain K.
yeah, the old chicken plant. Frankie McQueen, when Frankie McQueen had his chicken, he and E-Ray had a chicken plant there when I was growing up.
Yeah.
I don't remember these tanks back here.
Well, that's
Yeah.
probably when Shell or when
Kellogg.
Brothers had the place.
Yeah.
Mitch, did McQueen's also have a place across the tracks, a green building?
Yeah,
Yes.
down there next to
Yeah.
where they used to live. That was
Right
yeah,
there
that
on
was
Ohio Street.
that was E-Ray's building.
Yeah.
Am I remembering correctly? Before it was Ray K, it was Del Ray.
Yeah, could be.
I don't.
Delbert
Millsap.
Millsap. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, what?
Delbert Millsap.
So what's called?
And it was Del something.
Del Rey.
Del Rey.
Right. I remember in grade school, junior high, I was into making my own flashlights and interested in electricity, and I'd go in and buy parts here and take them home and make stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
They're
That's Cappy.
That was Tom.
Yeah, that's Cappy. You can tell by the sideburns.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I was looking at his shoes.
Yeah, I bet.
yeah, this picture get Mike all
that's John Lehman leaning back in that chair.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Linda Kelsey there on the other side.
His belly button gives him away, isn't it?
That's that Cornell, Mrs. Cornell again. Mary Lois Cornell.
well, here's where you've got the antlers on the wall.
Yeah, so that's got to have been probably out at the Oaks.
Where's the Elks at?
I recognize this guy in the front,
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
Jim Higgins.
Jim Higgins. I don't know who that is in the back
That-
though.
That's
Gotta be the bike rodeo.
No, that's Che
Probably,
Guevara behind him.
Who?
Che Guevara, rebel leader in Cuba.
Yeah.
Higgins always got cheap help.
Yeah.
Andy Ron.
Myron Ron.
Sure
Whatever
is.
happened to Myron? Do you guys know?
He's over by Indianapolis. He was at Bob's Super Service about a year ago, and I did not recognize him. And we had a short visit. It was good to see him and talk to him.
Danny Matthews says Sylvia with our back to the camera.
Wellborn.
Yeah. That's when you buried
Yeah.
her.
I guess Bob and Greg go over and visit him periodically.
Do
He's living with his son.
I think that was Bob Utterback and Jim Teeters.
Looks like it.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Good old Bob.
He hadn't changed over the years.
Salt of the earth Tuscola kid. What was he, class of 59 with
58.
Travis?
58, I think.
58.
Yeah, Bob's a good guy.
Jim Baird, I think.
Well, Baird was class of 60, I think.
And now that you say the names, it looks just like them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure
it
does.
does.
Was Bob a fireman too, you think?
I think at one time he was.
And that's it for this week.
That was Michener.
Wow.
There you go.
That was Michener and Taylor there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's who those two guys were, huh?
Yeah. Boy, they look young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wish they felt that way.
Well, you guys are exercising.
Well,
Yeah.
that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Are you doing yoga or Tai Chi or what are you doing?
Yeah. Tai Chi. Yeah.
I'm not gonna fight you now.
I'm lucky to do the treadmill and the bike, and that's about it.
Oh, are you guys at the down by City
Fitness.
Hall?
The fitness center, the old Rabbit building.
Okay, down by City Hall. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it Tai Chi or is it Tai G's?
Yeah, Tai Chi's.
Yeah, I've had those all my life. So you
Yeah.
guys work out on the do you work out on the ellipticals? I mean all the machines
Oh,
or
no, that's
No,
too much
that's
work.
too much work. No, we're still in we've been doing this for about since the last fall, and we're just we're trying to break in slowly.
you're doing treadmills and a bike?
Treadmills and the bike. I did do a little upper arm exercises today because I've lost a lot of strength in my upper body. I can't believe just from not working and doing stuff how much strength I've lost. So
I have Becky open up the like a can of ketchup or something. She has to take the cap off.
yeah, that's bad. That's pretty bad.
That's real
The
bad.
hands are all early.
Fred Sanford.
Pneumonia, pneumonia makes you weak.
Yeah. Laying in the hospital is what makes you weak.
Yeah, when I was young, I could climb a rope all day long. Now I wear boots so I don't have to tie my shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Good idea.
Yeah. Well, you guys, I think did they know more than us or did you keep up with them today? You do some stuff nobody knew.
Well, my scorecard here says we did. Yeah, I've got a scorecard that I was keeping track.
You know what? My scorecard's been misplaced, but I
David,
thought it was almost perfect.
David,
Yeah,
I want you to tell us who excelled today.
Mhm.
I think it was a tie.
David, you ought to run for public office.
So
Well, Bill at least brought a photo to the
the
station.
important thing is between us, I think we got almost all of them.
Happy birthday wishes. That was what it was all about today.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Can't have a better birthday than be with your friends.
You doing something special tonight? Anything?
This
Big
was-
cake or anything?
This was it.
This was it, huh?
Now,
Man, this is
We're gonna have to take a nap.
No, we're gonna go out and get some chicken nuggets and burger. That'll be the mountaintop.
Mike, you ought to make the trip up to Wisconsin with all of us.
If there was a restroom stop every hour, I'd go.
Well, that's not a problem.
That's not a problem because we do that. we do stop there.
Becky and I are thinking about buying a motorhome just so I could have a place to go to the restroom.
Yeah.
No, you guys, have you noticed the older you get, how simpler things are easier or sufficient? Like,
Well, that
like
going up there is pretty simple. It's pretty simple when we're up there. We don't do much.
My grandmother said that's why she had so many kids, so that she'd have a place to go to the bathroom all over the county.
Didn't you say Shuey and Wright work their heads off? Tails
Oh
off?
man, those guys are in
That's
excellent.
crazy.
You talk about good shape.
Was that cabin air conditioned?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's not a rustic cabin then.
It's not that rustic. We all got our own bed. Like, we got one of the bedrooms has what two bunk beds in it. One of them has a regular size double bed, and then Jim's has got a double bed, and then one in the front was another double bed, and then there's a single bed in the living room. So it's all air conditioned. I mean, it isn't too tough.
I wouldn't have to sleep with Jim Wright then.
No, you wouldn't have to sleep with Jim. No.
Who has to climb? Who has to climb on the top bunk?
No, it's
Yeah,
not me.
yeah.
I'll tell you what, it's not me. Shuey. Let Shuey get up there.
Yeah.
That's exactly
Well, I'll tell
right.
you what. We were talking about them the other day, and they are both in excellent shape. Denny was mowing the yard the other day when we were up there, and Jim's cutting down a tree, and the rest of us are just sitting around, looking at the fire pit. That's about it.
Well, that didn't describe you and I, does it?
No, it doesn't describe us.
No, you're much more active than that. Yeah.
Bill and I are sitting here thinking, how are we going to be able to, Beck's not here, how are we going to be able to get up out of these chairs?
Yeah, but we'll manage. I've enjoyed it today, guys.
Yes, sir.
Good visit.
Good to see you last night, Bill.
Pardon me?
I said, good to see you last night.
Yeah, it was good to see you too. I always enjoy it. They had a nice crowd. Little league teams were
Yes, they did.
stars. That was fun.
And Caleb got them all together.
Got them all together.
I'm impressed with Caleb, the time he's putting in with this baseball.
Well,
and they're getting better every
Bob will tell you
Yeah.
it takes some
They've
effort.
improved a bunch. I'm not so sure about his choice for first base coach, though.
Well, the first base coach he's kind of a
Who's
weak
that?
kind of guy down there.
Who's that?
Brett.
Well, he looks good too.
Huh?
He looks good with all the weight that he's
He
lost.
looks different, doesn't he?
Who are you talking about?
Yeah, Brett.
Never know it.
Oh yeah.
He now 200.
I have no idea what he weighs.
Thanks to Elite Builders for sponsoring us this week.
Good show.
Yep.
David?
So,
Yeah.
All right.
Good to see you.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next
Yeah.
week on Remembering Tuscola. If I can figure out how to pause it.